Good morning. Oh,
Good morning.
Good morning.
how are you?
Good, I'm good.
Good. I'm
Thanks for
good.
having me
Thanks
on
for
the
having me
show.
on
I've
the
been
show. I've
meaning to
been
join
meaning
for
to
a
join
long
for a
while.
long while.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you for a while. And I think, like I mentioned, I was a little afraid that I would be bothering you because you're such a big. I know this sounds weird when I say it, but it's like you have such a bigger platform that I feel like you've got so much going on. I shouldn't be bothering these people. But I need to get over that. So
Yes, please get
Yes,
over that.
please get over
This
that.
is a
This
fun
is a fun
format. This is a fun
format. This is a
show.
fun show.
I've been looking
I've been
forward
looking
to
forward
joining for
to
a
joining
while.
for a while.
yeah, no, you behind the scenes for everyone right now. You were on my short list of people back when I started doing live streams, and I'm like, at some point, I want to get to a place where I have this person on. I made like a list of 30 people, and you were on it, and I've only got like 17 left. Some of those, like Pixel Dan, I need to go a few more years before. He would do it because he's a great
He would do
guy,
it. Just
but
ask.
He would do it.
Just
Just
ask him.
ask.
oh yeah, I have to get there. I have to get to that point where I feel like I have to get to a point where I feel comfortable with the sort of audience that comes with the Pixel Dan. So, you know, I say some out of pocket things sometimes, and you don't want a Pixel Dan level audience um, there for that. Really quick, let's say hello to the chat. Good morning, Stanley's Toy Channel. Lovely to see you. Hello, Nolan. We are ToyTube official, even though I'm in that
Hey,
weird
Nolan, what's up?
Nolan, what's up?
in between ToyTube coloring tube. Andrew, aka Gady's Toys, is here. Hello, Andrew. And James, aka Mint with Card. I have not watched a new video yet, James. However, since you are a channel member, let's properly greet you.
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
There we go. I'm not hearing an echo, so I think we're okay.
The echo may be coming
The
from
echo may
me.
be coming from me.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not hearing you echo, so, huh. Anyway, it's okay. Andrew can get over it. Andrew will be fine. Andrew can one day embrace the olives. Anyway, so you selected. Well, you said of the things you wanted to color, Bravestarr would be one of them. And what is sort of funny is, well, quickly let me find it. Because I took 2 weeks off from streaming, and I went through a box of things I've ordered. I've not scanned it yet, but I do have. I actually found the Captain Power you had asked about. So once I get that
Oh, cool.
scanned,
cool.
We'll have you back. And also Andrew's Gady's Toys also wants to do some Captain Power, so maybe I'll have you both back at the same time for that one. So
Okay.
and then we can have a quorum of smart people. Anyway, which is really odd and rare this day and age on ToyTube. So all right. So yes, Bravestarr. So I'm gonna assume that since you selected Bravestarr, that it's one of your favorites.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, and then you're gone again. Oh, you're gone. Let's see. Audio is good on my side. Da-da-da. Yeah, still no audio. You were there and then you were gone.
No. We're back. We're
we're
back.
We're back. We're back.
Okay, there we go. Excellent. No worries. And I also need to get used to calling you KJ. I keep thinking of you as Black Genghis, and I'm like, KJ, KJ, it's KJ.
I respond to either.
I know, but still. It would be like calling, Clark Kent and Superman. It's one of those differences. Anyway, so Bravestarr, is it one of your favorites? Obviously.
Yeah, I loved Bravestarr since I was a kid, and this is a lot of fun. The coloring book is kind of like an episode in the show,
Mm-hmm.
so that's cool. Kind of getting to relive,
Yeah, I've got
sitting down, watching that episode.
Yeah, and
I had this little color guide off to the side.
I'm not as fluent in Bravestarr. I never watched the cartoon as a child. I was actually, it came out right at the cusp of like in middle school where, like toys are not as interesting as boys and music.
Mhm.
And so Bravestarr came out like right, like 87-ish. So it was, well, the cartoon, like the toys hit earlier because Mattel. And so I remember seeing the toys and then the cartoon came after. And but I was at that age where it was like, I'm gonna spend my money on 45s, cassette tapes. Scary. Was really getting into horror movies at the time, so it was like, let me save up my money so I can rent Friday the 13th Part 3 this weekend at the video store. But I remember watching a couple episodes. Oddly, well, not oddly, my grandfather liked it quite a bit. So I remember being there in the summer, but he also grew up on he was half native, half white man. So so it was kind of cool for him. Like, I think that was his first real representation, and he was like in his 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
So but so I remember it more for that, and that my grandfather was actually watching a cartoon instead of making fun of him like he would do when we would watch He-Man or Smurfs or whatever.
Yeah, I have native roots as well, and so Bravestarr was really cool for me to have that growing up, and not just having the savage Indian with the token noble
With the
Indian that
headdress.
helped out the hero, but had to defeat all the other Indians. Appreciated Bravestarr even more and more.
Well, I mean, also it wasn't. I mean, Shaman, if you look at him, was as a little stereotypical. That's what we'll say. However, I think it's kind of balanced because it was an attempt at giving the history, right? Because Bravestarr himself isn't really tokenized, which is interesting. Like, although Shaman is very much of the side of the road Italian pretending to be Indian 70s variety, it's just different. Like, Shaman doesn't bother me the way he would if Bravestarr was a white character. If Bravestarr was a white guy, I think we would not be coloring Bravestarr today, is what I guess is the long and short of it. But I think it's balanced because it's sort of, I don't know, like, it's just different. It wasn't done maliciously. It wasn't done in a way to be Lee Scheimer actually cared about that stuff, though. People miss that when they complain about things are so much more woke now. It's like, you would have hated Lee Scheimer in conversation.
Well, the thing is, with media as a whole, there's Eurocentrism and male centrism. And there were efforts to counteract that. to have a wider palette of humanity.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing sort of pushback from that because there are people who recognize the power in saying who gets represented and who doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and it's
So that's
also
where all that wokeness stuff
well, and
comes
it's
from.
also it's sort of also a cycle. This one seems like it's lasted a lot longer, but it's often forgotten because of the ages of everyone. That the early 1980s had quite in the 70s and 80s, later 70s, early 80s had the same sort of backlash. Like in the 60s, there were a lot of sort of things broken down: civil rights, women's liberation. There was queer liberation movements. These all made great strides in the late 60s, early 70s, and then there was sort of a backlash against it. But it wasn't as in the media, so it wasn't as noticeable to us, and it's harder to piece it together when we look back at our media, because our media was still not trying to reduce, like wasn't reductive in that way, other than sort of the complete sort of erasure of queer characters. And I think it helped that Fat Albert made really good money in the 70s. Like,
yeah,
I think despite what we now know about Mr. Cosby, like that show made great strides. And I think it's just a matter of where there's money, they will make the media for the people. And I think that's kind of what the ebb and flow is right now, is a lot of, as media changes and dies, a diverse audience isn't necessarily always going to go see something in a theater, but they sure as heck will on streaming.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's an interesting time to, as a Gen Xer, to sort of see and have people like, we've lost a lot of the strides. It's like, I don't think we have. I think we're just in the normal ebb and flow of how these things work. You make strides, people push back, you push back harder, you make more strides, they push back, you make more strides. So.
Yeah, Mr. Days, we tend to think about the stuff.
Yeah. All right, let me check in really quick on chat. Sorry, guys. KJ has never been here before. I'm going to be a little bit less aware of chat while I talk. I'm better at, like Andrew of Gatey's Choice comes here all the time. So it's a lot easier for me to balance talking, coloring, and Andrew. All right. Hello, Ria.
Hey, Allison, let me try one thing. I'm going to leave the studio and then come back in. I don't think you can hear the echo, but I can, and some members of the chat can.
Okay. Very good.
10 seconds.
No problem. Hello, Ria. Lovely to see you. Good morning, Todd. Thank you. That is very flattering, because I still have a long way to go. All right, let's see. There we go.
All right, testing.
I have no echo.
Okay, great. I think the echo's
excellent.
Awesome.
There we go. And I think we're caught up on chat. Oh, there we go. There's the, okay, excellent. All right, we're caught up on chat. Thank you, everyone, for showing. Somebody while you were gone was saying that we are two of the best, and I was very flattered to be included.
That was very nice.
With you, like, I'll get there one day, guys.
No, you're there. You gotta really understand how people appreciate your channel and what you do. Like, just the cool vibes. Like, this is like one of the most relaxing things I've done in years.
That's amazing. I'm gonna embiggen you really quick. Put that back up. There we go. See, Andrew, look how quickly KJ is coloring compared. No, just kidding. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Andrew. Don't. No, it's
We kid.
fine.
Have you seen Odyssey?
I loved Odyssey. I went and saw it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not normally a Nolan fan.
Yeah.
I've only watched 1.5 of his Batman movies, and I didn't bother with the last one. I'm like, this is not my thing, and that's
All
okay.
right.
I thought Inception was okay. I've enjoyed some of his stuff, but just overall. But I went and saw it because everyone was all up in arms. I'm like, well, let me just go see this. And like with the caveat, like I'm a huge Greek mythology nerd. Thank you, Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And the Legend of Troy is, for obviously, one of my favorites. That's part of my my online last name. Also, the other half, Wonder Woman's little sister, Donna Troy. So it's layered. But also they fixed it later in comics where that's why her last name was Troy. So there we go.
All right. Yeah.
It all comes back to the comics, guys. I really liked it. And I wish a lot of the people who are up in arms and angry about stuff actually would give the movie a chance. Because, well, I mean, there are a lot of people based on what it's making that
Yeah.
are giving it a chance. But I was just, again, because I'm familiar with the story, it's one of my favorites from the Greek myths. I've read so many different takes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen so many different TV shows and movies. And I thought it was, I can't believe I'm going to say this about Nolan. I thought it was really unique and interesting and like one of the coolest takes I've seen on the story. So,
All right. Yeah.
I mean, I need to watch it 17 more times to decide for sure forever. But for right now,
Yeah. I love the IMAX format, and where I live in Los Angeles, I'm pretty close to one of the few theaters that can play it at IMAX 70 millimeter. But I would say
Ooh,
it's worth the trip. It's worth making the trip to go to your nearest IMAX 70 millimeter um, theater.
yeah,
When I was in college, 2008, I went to go see The Dark Knight in IMAX, and I drove 3 hours for a midnight showing. Totally worth it. Blew my mind. I was like, this is the
yeah,
future. And here we are living in the Dark Knight's future with
yeah.
IMAX
That's
full frame movies and whatnot.
yeah. No, yeah. That's the thing. Like, I don't. I was living in Portland, Oregon, and then
Hmm.
like we wanted to own our house, which meant not living in Portland because it's way too expensive for what
Yeah.
we had to work with. We're in coastal Oregon. We were lucky. I don't have a lot of movie theaters, so it's like I have to be really selective. With that said, I did go see Mandalorian and Grogu 7 times. Because that's my Star Wars. I have to see every Star. I've seen every Star Wars theatrical release since 1977
Same.
in the theater 7 times.
Okay.
That includes the Clone Wars CGI movie.
Yeah, same.
That was a painful. That was the one time I questioned. I've seen every Star Wars movie 7 times in a theater.
I really didn't like Ahsoka in the movie, and they did such a much better job with her on the show.
Yeah, yeah, she hit her stride. Like season 2, the show, the concept, Ahsoka. Yeah,
So let
she
me ask you
gets to.
this: Do you?
Oh yeah,
Oh, good.
sorry.
No, good.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm so glad Ahsoka got better.
Do you think Disney Plus hurt Star Wars by having the
Um,
shows?
so here's my, I, because I remember the dark ages of, from like 1984
Hmm.
to the early 90s when there
Yeah,
was no Star Wars at all. Um,
same.
And I read a lot in the 90s, you know, like the Zahn trilogy came out. We were all happy because it was new Star Wars. It was pretty good Star Wars. You know, like we're gonna pretend that those two Ewok movies did not happen.
Sure.
Um, you know, and so the Zahn trilogy was really good, and there were some really good expanded universe novels, and there were some really bad expanded universe novels. I read all of them because Star Wars is Star Wars, and it was just good to
Yeah.
have new Star Wars. And
Hmm.
that's kind of where I am with the Disney Plus show. I haven't read most of the new expanded universe since they reset. I stopped reading in
Yeah. High Republic.
2000-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped reading whenever they killed Chewbacca in the expanded universe because I'm like, this
Yeah.
is
Didn't
not
they
what
drop a
I care
moon on
about.
him or something like that?
Yeah, they dropped a moon on him. And I'm like, it was really clear. It's hard to write Chewbacca in a novel because he's not in basic, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you use Chewbacca as a character? It's really easy just not to include him in the book, right?
Hmm.
Chewbacca's off world with his family. And then I came back a few books later. I was like, let me see how bad this is. And Princess Leia got poisoned, and all of her hair fell out. And I'm like, that's such a man thing to do to carry to Princess Leia, right? Because
Right.
she's most famous for her hair. What happens if she loses her hair? And I'm like, ugh, that's such bad writing. So I just stopped reading them because I'm like, this is about being shocking. This is about like we can do what we
Yeah.
want now. And then they're shocked that they wiped all of that out for the new movies. Um, but I look at the TV shows the same way. If I like one of the shows, then it's canon. And if I don't like one of the shows, I don't think about it. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really care for the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
Um, I felt it was radically uneven. It felt more, a lot of the things that you hear people complain about with the Book of Boba Fett. But I don't hate it. And like when somebody's like, yeah, I loved it. I'm not gonna go argue with them and tell them they're wrong because like
Hmm.
some Star Wars is better than no Star Wars. I think
Yeah.
the problem is it was really easy in the 90s to say, well, this is just a movie, it's just a comic book. I mean, this is just a book, this is just a comic, these are the movies. I think because of all of the TV shows, and the way media literacy works, there are a lot of people who can't it all has to be canon. It all
Hmm.
has
Hmm.
to be interconnected. There has to be the synergy. Everything that happens in this TV show needs to reference everything that happened in the movie. And if they don't, they got it wrong.
Right.
And I
Right.
think the extreme, and this is all media, this is all franchises now, in my opinion. Like the need for everything to sync up and everything to matter kills, I think, a lot of good storytelling.
Okay. Yeah.
So. So yeah, Disney is probably doing too much because of the current lack of being able to separate movies and TV shows from comics and books because it's all canon under Disney.
Yeah.
It all matters. So that said, I like The Acolyte, and people who didn't like it can suck a force which is pity. So
No, I like the
no,
Acolyte too. I like I like they were trying to expand the definition of the Force, but for whatever reason, you have a lot of fans who are just really resistant to that. Um, like with
but
the witches and the sort of the concept of Jedi's having a gray area and being
mhm,
hunted down for like their failure. Like there was a lot conceptually that was going on with something like Save for the Acolyte, for example.
yeah,
And Star Wars, for whatever reason, has just shown to be very resistant um, to change. Like I think back how much of a shock Empire Strikes Back had to be compared to New Hope. Episode
yeah.
4.
Star Wars, right? Because it wasn't even episode 4 at that point. It didn't
Right.
become episode 4 officially until April 1981 when
Yeah.
they did the re-release, and then they added episode 4, A New Hope. They did add A New Hope really quickly, I want to say in 78 or 79.
Okay.
They updated that. For everyone who complains about the special editions, George Lucas has literally been doing this since like year one Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like there have been changes and updates and tweaks constantly. So I think for me with the Acolyte, the thing that was exhausting is like, if you don't like it, great, but I don't need you to make 30 videos about how you hate it and how it's why Star Wars is bad.
Well, because
Star
it's
Wars,
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I get that. I get that, but I also like, I don't know. I mean, I've stopped watching videos like that. I don't, and even if somebody tricks me and their thumbnail isn't, this is why Star Wars sucks now. If I start watching it and I start hearing the buzzwords,
Yeah.
like I'm out, I hit dislike video and then I back out and
Yeah.
go find something else because I'm not going to engage with it. And I will say YouTube has given me far less of that content since I've started doing that. Like they've been giving me solid
You have
Star
to
Wars
control the algorithm.
Yep.
You have to tell the algorithm, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, I'm not interested in this. I like this. I want this.
Yeah.
If I have passions or interests, then I'd rather, look on the enthusiast side of like, hey, here's what's good about this. Here's what's going on. Here's what's new about this. Marquez, MKBHD, for example, one of my favorites. Like he doesn't spend a lot of time being like, this isn't good, this isn't blah, that kind of thing. Like, oh, here's what's good, here's what's new, and here's what's great about this. They need to work on this, da da da, right? I like that side of it. And the rage or the discontent is addictive, unfortunately. That's what it is.
This is a good point by Todd here. It'll take 20 years of reflection, just like episodes 1 to 3. And that's a great point because there are a lot of people who hated the first 3 movies, and all of a sudden they're like, they don't hate them as much as they suddenly there's this love for and I think that'll definitely happen. I think for the sequels. My niece, who was like a child, it's been 10 years since over 10 years. No, wait, it's 10 years this year since The Force Awakens. But my niece was like 7 or 8. Loved Rey. I gave her Rey dolls for a couple Christmases. And then she was too old for toys. As happened. And now she has her own kids because, 10 years later. Well, just one. And a bunch of puppies. But it's funny because like she's starting to, she sent me a picture recently. She's like, look, I found all those Rey dolls you sent me when I was a little kid. And I'm like, that wasn't that long ago. But then I'm like, 7, 8 to 18 to 20, like it's huge. But it was just interesting. Like, oh my God, how much she loves those movies. And I was just like, okay, this is in 10 years, like that's when we'll really, the decision will truly be made on the sequel movies. Once the grumpy old fans let it go. And I think that's that's an element of this is, myself as a Gen Xer, like we're getting old. And it's really hard, based on the way media works now, based on sort of this constant nostalgia loop that we've been in. Like one of the earliest things I remember being taken to the theater to see other than Star Wars was Grease. And Grease's 50s nostalgia and from the 70s are huge. So for Gen X, our entire lives have been these pockets of, and then the 80s, there was this huge 60s nostalgia with like the fashions coming back and the music. And, we had China Beach on television and sort of all this romanticizing of the 60s. And like, I think, and we're seeing that kind of right now with like the 90s and stuff. Lord save us for the 2005 nostalgia. When those fashions come back, Lord help us all. But so I think that's some of it. I think we've lived in such a loop of nostalgia from the time we were born that we don't know
Yeah.
how not to be nostalgic. And some of that is because we were raised by boomers or the silent generation. And the silent generation survived the Great Depression, the Spanish flu. Like, people are like, why are the boomers like they are? Well, it's really clear. Like, their parents were silent generation. Like, silent generation people, during the Great Depression, like, you might have a baby and then your baby starves and then you don't have a baby and it's too painful to talk about because you have 4 other kids you have to feed. So boomers never learned
Right.
how to grieve properly. And then whenever the depression was over, they overcompensated by, like with food and stuff. So eating disorders, what have you, like, but it's sort of the grand picture. Nobody kind of wants to look at sort of the roots of it that way, like the geneticness of all of it, because that genetic memory, like you remember, I may not have ever starved during the Great Depression, but the people who raised me had their child, like my grandparents were all my parents were boomers, my grandparents were silent generation. So like there's a thing that happens there where it's like, why does grandmother always overfeed me? Why does my grandmother binge eat? It's like there were times where she had no food. Like my grandmother
Right.
literally had a baby sister who starved to death during the Great Depression. Like there's a reason for the trauma, like that we don't, like I didn't suffer through the Great Depression, but like I was raised by people who did. So I don't know. Sorry for everyone who didn't expect us to be talking about starving babies.
Starving babies. Yeah.
Starving babies, social justice. It's just a typical day in Allison world.
Yep, exactly. Well, here, let me
Welcome
go
to
ahead and
oh
here's what I got so
oh my
far.
goodness. You are showing me up today. That looks really
No,
good.
you're doing something way more intricate than mine. Mine are very simple.
Yeah. No, yeah. It is true. Well, also like I want to cover all of the pages in this book and eventually do a video to tell the story so that it's not
Yeah,
lost media. So, oh, there we go.
so they're kind of
So, yeah.
close. Getting there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not sure what set of, are you using Crayola
Yeah,
or
I'm
like
using
found?
crayons.
Yeah, so yeah, no, that's really good for crayons. You're gonna make my Southern come out as I say crayons. It's one of those words you can't hide your accent for.
Right.
Thanks. No, just kidding. Thank you.
Yo, Paul G, good seeing you, man. Yeah, I'm barely looking at the chat myself. I'm just like focused on the coloring.
Really quick,
Like it's good to see Todd C,
Black,
Black Phoenix,
yeah.
thanks for joining. Yeah.
Black Phoenix just left the comic shop with Batgirl, Storm, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Gotcha Man, JSA, Marvel Swimsuit, Green Lantern. That's a really good haul, Alex.
Yeah.
Also, Alex is a channel member, so sorry, Andrew.
Bring out the
What we
off.
gotta do.
Bring out the off. Bring out the off.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Oh, Gal Gadot. Thank you. I want to thank her for that's like one of her best performances. And I really had to work to get that out of her. And
It's
hello,
the
Mr. Galliano.
yeah,
Poor gal.
it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Give me the stone. You're putting everyone in danger. Maxwell Lord. Anyway, sorry. Let's not do that. But in her defense, the first Wonder Woman movie was really good, and her lack of talent actually worked for the way they played Diana in that movie. So
Yeah, it did. It's
you
kind
know,
of a perfect
like,
storm.
yeah, it was just when she had to actually do something more as Diana than being the stranger in the strange land that it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's really good action scenes, like but and it's not like we ever noticed in the Fast and the Furious movies that her talent was limited because, I mean, I've seen all of those in the theater, and I will see everyone in a theater because those are best
Mhm.
experienced on a big. But we don't go see Fast and the Furious for performances.
Yeah, there's a school of thought where, it's kind of style over substance, or you do things for the look. Zack
Yeah,
Snyder really excelled at that. In the Snyderverse,
yeah,
if you're into that aesthetic, then it's very good looking for what it is.
yeah.
Whereas with James Gunn's very plain, matter of fact, but it's really about the emotion, the characterization. So, and that's where you start getting into substance over style.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I was not a fan of any of the Snyder Superman movies.
mhm.
I don't believe Superman is ever supposed to be dark or grim. Superman is
Yeah.
supposed to be bright and shiny. Batman is supposed to be bright and grim. That's why when they, like their friendship um works well because they're polar opposites in that way. And
Mhm.
it just anytime you try to make Superman dark and gritty or like edgy, it just doesn't work because he's supposed to be that cheesy, all shucks, all American, like we do the right thing all the time. That's Superman, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is where the people keep getting Wonder Woman wrong because they keep trying to place her between to make the Trinity like an actual Trinity instead of just these are the top three characters at DC. So they keep
Yeah.
trying to make Wonder Woman too dark and too where it's like Wonder Woman is very light and bright. Like the Perez era of Wonder Woman is like chef's kiss. Like you got
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
balance of like, yes, she can totally kick your ass. She totally could snap your neck, and she will if she has to. But Gail Simone has this great quote I love about Wonder Woman where she's like, um, and it was from the comic, and she was like, and Diana basically says, you never use a sword where you could use when a fist would suffice. You never use a fist if extending a hand will work. You never start a fight if a talk can resolve it. And it's like, yeah, like, and too many people just want her to headbutt a tank and, like,
And
just
twist
punch. And
people's necks like in Infinity Crisis or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and I know like a lot of people, I think, is that Drew Rucka that the writer was of that whole era of Wonder
I think
Woman?
so.
I
Yeah.
know a lot of people like his Wonder Woman. I do not.
All right.
Like he turned her into like he leaned into the ambassadorness of it all, and he was like, there's an issue where like there's a forest on fire and Flash wants her to stop it, but she won't because the forest needs to burn so it can regrow.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's what nature wants. And I'm just like, that's not. I get where you're going. Like that Swamp Thing. That's not Diana. Diana is again. But that was him trying to work toward that neck snap so that it would make more sense and not be out of character.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whereas everyone knows what you do is you take the lasso of truth and then you take him to Reform Island and you make him stay on Reform Island until he gets better. So anyway, that's my 5 cents. As somebody who's read Wonder Woman comics since 1970 something, but there's some
Now
good
I
stories. I
haven't.
mean,
Yeah,
sorry.
I haven't read Absolute Wonder Woman. How do you like that?
So so this is sort of I'm enjoying Absolute Wonder Woman as an alternative version of Wonder Woman. When people are like,
Okay.
this needs to be the mainstream Wonder Woman, I disagree. In Absolute Wonder Woman, she's been taken from the Amazons and she was sent to hell where she was raised by Cersei, and Cersei is this mother figure.
Hmm.
I'm not a fan of any storyline that takes a hero's main antagonist and then puts them in this um, either a romance or like a mother-daughter or a parental like especially when it's like one of my biggest problems when they made Zeus Diana's father was there's an issue in the 80s where Wonder Woman ends up going on this entire story arc into the underworld because she refuses Zeus's advances. He sees like, I'm Zeus, it's time for me to partake of this. And she says no. She does not consent to and it was a major story, and it had huge implications for her character, for the Amazons, for everything. It was very impactful, right? And then for them to go and like, well, her dad's Zeus. I'm like, well, that story is super gross, but it also removes so much. And it was done, like, most men can't relate to this character because she doesn't have a dad. I got banned from some message board because the guy who said that, I'm like, well, you don't have a dad either. And like, you should be able to relate more. And he got really mad, but I'm just like, clearly your dad left and never came back. So, but I don't know. It's the whole thing where they want to make characters dark that aren't dark.
Yeah.
All because Alan Moore wrote Watchmen, and it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone came for Bravestarr, and they're getting comics talk with Alice.
There's a tendency to make things darker because it sort of alleviates the storytelling impetus of trying to provide that ray of light or be hopeful, be inspiring. And in Spider-Man Brand New Day, one of the most important things they do is saying that, the people who love you, they love you because you're you. And people needed to hear that. And that's where like all these box office records and everything come from, because people are going back to that movie over and over again just for that key message. It's a very lovely, inspiring, hopeful message. But you can't even deliver a message like that unless you're that person.
Yeah,
So going dark, going grim and gritty kind of frees you from having to be that person. You don't have to provide a moral lesson or moral instruction or encouragement in media and art if you're not that person. And so it becomes easier for people who aren't that, who aren't inspirational, who aren't inspiring, like a Zack Snyder, who couldn't
mhm,
encourage you to lunch, let alone, you know,
right.
putting it in the message. He can just focus on style. So you can make something like 300 where it's about this heroic sacrifice, right? There's no encouragement in there. Like the moral lesson is, yeah, man, you want to protect your nation. You and 299 other people may have to die for it. It's like,
Right.
well, thanks, Zack Snyder. So it becomes difficult when you have heroes like Superman, like Supergirl, who are supposed to be these inspirational figures you can look up into the sky towards them. But if you are not that person, if you're not that writer, if you're not that director, you're not going to be able to pull that off. And kudos to James Gunn, because he was able to make something in his Superman movie that was closer to the character, even
Mhm.
though it didn't look as good or as cool as Man of Steel did or anything else. It was disheartening to see Supergirl get the message of Woman of Tomorrow wrong. And not only that, but
Yeah.
make something that was less visually appealing, less compelling. Um, and they just spent a lot of money. It's like, you guys have pre-pro, you have script pages, you have storyboards, you can get the tone right and everything else without spending all this money and creating a nothing burger that no one wants to see.
Right. Well, I liked Supergirl the movie. Like, I enjoyed it. My problem with, and like, I've read Supergirl longer than I've read Superman.
Right?
Like when we went in 1978, when my grandmother took me to see Superman, um I said, like, well, is Supergirl gonna show up? Like, because that was really the only comic I was reading. My dad would worked his way through college working at 7-Eleven, so he would bring home, he did overnight, so we didn't see each other a lot. Like, he wasn't home at night, he was at 7-Eleven. He'd get home as I was leaving for school. Um, he would bring comics, and there would be a lot of Superman families starring Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Star Wars, of course, Spider-Woman at one point. But consistently what I see people get wrong about Supergirl in the comics from always is she's female Superman.
Mhm.
And they miss the point that Supergirl, they've rebranded it so like she came to Krypton, she came to Earth, she was supposed to arrive on Earth at the same time and raise Superman. She was supposed to protect him and take care of him, but that wasn't the original story. The original story was she was Kryptonian, but she was born on Argo City, which was like a surviving colony. And then when Argo City started to die, they sent her to Earth so Superman could protect her. So he so the reason a lot of the dynamic doesn't work is they've given her Power Girl's origin, which Power Girl has always been more angsty. But that was also to because when Power Girl first arrived, she was Earth 2 Supergirl, so to make her different, they changed her up. But then when they brought Supergirl back in the early 2000s, they gave her the Power Girl origin. And she hasn't been quite right since. I've got it over here. I read the Woman of Tomorrow arc that it was based on. And I think the two things I disliked about the Supergirl movie was I felt like there was not enough Supergirl in it. Even though, it's a fairly faithful adaptation. We didn't need that much Superman in the movie. And again, like the girl that she goes to rescue, like to help, there was too much of her in it. And there was too much Lobo. Like, I get like synergy or whatever, but I didn't feel like he added to the story. I feel like it needed to be a Supergirl movie. It didn't need to be like Lobo. And I think, and I also like, it's a great comic book arc, but I don't know that it was the right story to adapt.
All right.
We don't need another Supergirl origin movie because we have the 1984 Supergirl for that.
There's a lot of people who haven't seen it and won't bother with going back to that.
Yeah, so but at the same time we don't need more origins. I don't think Supergirl needs an origin movie. Like, I think that's sort of one of the pitfalls that superhero movies keep falling into, is they want to do origin movies for all these characters. But not every, like Supergirl alone, you know enough about the character, you don't need an origin movie. You just need a solid adventure. And I feel like, I went and saw Supergirl like 3 or 4 times. 4. I went 4 times. Last time it was a double feature with the last day that the Motu movie was at my local theater.
Okay.
But what stood out to me was like, it doesn't feel like they understood Supergirl, and not in a bad way, but in a just yeah, I don't know. And like I'm not a huge Tom King fan. And there was, like, it's a great arc that they took it from, but that one to me also has a few things I'm not fond of. And again, it's a tone thing with Supergirl. Like, she's not angsty that way. Like, again, they've written her this way though since like 2005, so maybe she is angsty now, and I'm just too old and won't let go of like Silver Age Kara Zor-El. But I feel like and I think some of it is just like, well, she's a girl character. If we want men to go watch this, we need to do this. And I think they need to just stop worrying about that, because what I am seeing on social media, in the aftermath of the movie, is I'm seeing a lot of women like, why didn't you guys tell me that this movie was good? And I think that's maybe some of the problem is, like, you guys could just make a superhero movie for girls and for women. And if men like it, that's great. But if not, oh well. Like, just don't don't
Yeah.
quote Brie Larson and say like, maybe it's not made for you. Just make it and advertise it, and if people embrace it, great, and if they don't, okay. But like, yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of women who are suddenly like, why didn't you guys tell me this movie was so good? And I think that's maybe some of
All
it.
right.
Maybe, yeah. And again, I'm a comic fan for decades, so like maybe I'm not quite the right demographic either. Um, I
Yeah,
should be.
it's hard for us to get out of our bubble, um, because we're so used to what we like, what we know. There's some deep dives. When I first got back into comics, I had to dive deep, and this is around the time that you had New 52. Oh well, you had the 52, which was a weekly comic,
Yeah,
and just to get the context of what was going on, a friend of mine
yeah,
gave me Identity Crisis, gave me a bunch of different comics from Marvel. I had to go back for Civil War. There was like years of catching
yeah,
up I had to do because before
yeah,
that, the comic books I had been reading, think of like, 90s high school, Death and Return of Superman, Heroes
yeah.
Reborn, and Marvel, that kind of stuff. And then I just took time off. And if you take time off, you don't know what the hell's going on. And there are
Right. You
these just events now. Um, House of X, Powers of X, um, the Hellfire Club, all these different things. It can get really difficult just to get back
yeah,
into weekly comics reading to the point where, like for me, I read Skybound because I got in on the ground floor, so I can read Transformers, Void Rivals, GI Joe, right? And now I can keep up with it, but now even that's expanding. Mass, ROM, it can be a lot, and it keeps people out. It keeps like this really small community nationwide, worldwide, that's maybe at its biggest millions of people, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on the title you're talking about. It's a very small community that's
yeah.
reading all these comics.
Well, and that's the quandary of it, right? Because it's like for some people, sort of the discovery of it is exciting, and then for some people, it's off-putting. Like I remember as a kid, my favorite thing was when a story would have the little box with the star that was like, "See issue 72," and you're reading issue 150. So you're like, wow, this is like this story's been going on forever, and there's all this stuff you don't know. So then you go to back issue, go to the comic shop and you look for back issues, and or you're at a garage sale and there's randomly like a box of comics and you pick them up, and suddenly you have a bunch of issues from the 1950s or 60s or whatever, and it's like but it's like 1985, so you only have issues that are like 300. These are all 100 and 200 issues that you got at a garage sale, so you have really old stuff, like, and then some people that's overwhelming, and like it's too much to catch up on, and it's like I don't know. Yeah, and I feel like in the beginning the movies were a great way to sort of bridge that gap. If you wanted to get into a character, like just watch the movie,
Hmm.
like that gives you the high points and the low points and a good idea of who the character is. And then for the deep nerds, we can go and scour back issue bins, and like now of course get on the internet and sort of spend
Digital,
hours
yeah.
and hours reading digital comics, or even just going to Wikipedia, or even sort of fans. In the early 2000s, what was great was all the great fan sites. You would find somebody who loved, like there used to be a site I love called Teen Titans Tower for the Teen Titans.
Hmm.
And it's like at that point I had almost every Teen Titan comic, but there are a bunch from like the 60s and 70s that I had not added to my collection at that point. So it was a great way to sort of go and sort of catch up on all of that. And that just doesn't exist. Even Wikipedia is sort of lacking. There's not really a place to deep dive anymore. And it's like there are all those fan sites. What is it? The one site that always comes up when you search, but that thing has so many ads that like it kills your browser every time you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyone can edit those, which I know like is exciting, but at the same time, like I've like do research. I do paid research now on pop culture stuff. And like I can't that the website is handy, but like when anyone can edit it, they'll just go in and put like I found a bunch of fan fiction one time on one of those entries, and I'm like, that's fan fiction. And I tried to report it, and they're like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, because I wrote that fan fiction in 2007. That never happened. Because it was written under a pen name. But yeah, they had referenced my fan fiction. I'm like, that's not a real Supergirl adventure. Like I wrote that. Like you can't reference it. But yeah, so like, but it's sort of, some of us enjoy sort of the mystery of it and the discovery, and then other people don't. And like, I think comics has the misfortune that they have to like cater to both. Like you have to build something that builds upon years and upon years upon years for a certain segment of fandom, and then you need easy ends. You know, it's like the New 52 is a perfect example. Like I quit after 2 years because I'm like, I don't feel invested in any of this. I don't like these changes. I haven't bought monthly comics since 2013 because I was just like, I'm done. I pick up trades now. And yeah, like I've been trying to get back into monthly comics. I've picked up some Wonder Woman stuff. And a couple Supergirl issues, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I think I'll just keep doing trades for a while because I'm not enjoying any of these stories enough to go each month and pick up a comic book.
Okay.
I want to be able to sit on the couch and just read the whole story. And but also it's because they're told for trades now. Like when I read back issues, like from the 80s and 90s, it's like you get a really dense story in a single issue. But that's also sort of the changing economy of it. Comics are hard. Like, how do you find that nice, sweet space in between the two?
Well, I think it's definitely once you find a title that speaks to you, or an artist, right? Like I loved reading Vertigo back in the day at its height. You're talking Why the Last Man, The Losers, Scalped, that kind of thing, right? Like that was like a high point for me, and they made it easy to keep coming back, even if I had missed something, because the writing was so good, the character was so good. It didn't matter that I didn't know the exact thing they were referencing. What mattered was the characters' reactions to it and the emotions around it. And that's what the best comics would do, where it's like it's lived in. And even the best movies that emulate that, they infer to these adventures that you didn't even get to see. Like in Spider-Man, the Staten Island incident, where Spider-Man had saved Punisher, and that's the context of their relationship. This begrudging relationship that Punisher has towards Spider-Man. And then you see where it goes. Have you seen Spider-Man, Brendan, by the way?
I have not. I'll be doing streaming for that one. I have hit because between Mando, Supergirl, and Masters of the Universe, I've pretty much hit my big blockbuster movie for there are a couple horror movies coming out that I'll probably go see, but otherwise I'm done with theaters for this year for big, like big spectacle movies. Like it just
Okay.
But
I have a lot to say about Masters of the Universe later, but please continue.
So yeah, I mean, eventually I get to Spider-Man. And I'll enjoy it. Like I've enjoyed all of the except the one, the last of the Maguire ones with the black symbiote costume.
Venom.
That one, you could tell that like it was all over the place because people were like, but now you need this. Like that one really felt like studio interference.
Yeah, there was just too much money. The money got in the way of Spider-Man 3 because the other two had made so much.
Yeah. Well, in the first one, he just got, like, again, it's like other than X-Men and Batman in the late 80s, like, superheroes were kind of, like, not really happening anymore. So, like, he had a lot more freedom with those first two movies than you did. By the time of the third one, superhero movies are events again. So, Alex was a fan. I will like. I mean, like I like Zendaya. I like. Is it Tom Holland? I think that's the right
Yeah, Tom Holland.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always want to call him Garfield, even though I know it's not him. Even though I should know, because every time his lip sync performance of Umbrella comes on, I have to repost because those are the rules, y'all. If you see that, you have to repost it. I don't make the rules; I just follow the rules. But
Hey,
I
there you go.
like I like what they bring to the stories. Like I've enjoyed, like I'm not gonna lie. When they first announced her casting in the first one, I was like guys, are you gonna start that thing where like everyone gets mad and I have to, like defend a bad performance or whatever just because y'all are being shitbags on the internet? And then I went and saw it. I'm
Mm.
like, anyone who hates Zendaya, just I hope they die. Because I did not like the ending of Euphoria though. Like we do not talk about the ending of Euphoria.
Hey,
Um, did her wrong. But anyway, but yeah, I'll go see it because I think the charisma of the cast, even if it's a bad movie, can make up sometimes. Not it sounds like it's not a bad movie, but like there's just some casts that like they can do no wrong for me, and I feel like that's what's happened with Spider-Man. Is like I trust them enough at this point that like it'll be fine.
oh, that's good. Um, they definitely really just focused on the character,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Marvel had made too many films that didn't do that, where it's just about plot. This sets up the plot. We need plot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, you need character. Um,
Yeah.
that's why I go to these movies. They need to be compelling, and I need a reason to keep coming back. And so I'm glad that the movie has had this gargantuan success that it has, because it's going to send the right messages, not just to Marvel, but to anyone that's making movies at this scale, and saying that you need to have something to say about people, about our condition as a society. And Spider-Man: Brand New Day is really just about the futility of trying to do things in isolation. That we have got to move beyond the isolation that we
Mm-hmm.
suffered at the very beginning of this decade, and where emotionally, psychologically, a lot of people still are, because it's hard to get out of that, especially for kids who don't know anything else. They came of age in isolation. Their formative years were in isolation, and it had an impact. So you needed something just to say it's okay to go back outside. Go outside.
Well, also though, to that, we also some of us took the wrong lessons from the lockdown. Like, like we were inside for a really specific reason, so we wouldn't die, which is good. Um, but a lot of, like I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I was really like, this is kind of scary, but at the same time, it's really nice to be able to, and I've worked from home since like 2011, so like I was somebody who was
Hmm.
online like this is how you guys need to do this so that you don't lose your life to the to slug life, on the couch where you're just in your pajamas all day not getting work done. This is the way to survive working at home.
Yeah,
But it's really easy whenever your day is over, well, one, to get up and not put on pajamas, and then just have a really and then have everything delivered and then have it left at the door. It's like it's really easy to sort of become a recluse. And I think too many people have leaned into that post the relaxation. And I think it makes sense. Don't get me wrong. Like, as an introvert with social anxiety, like, it's really easy to just be like, I'm not leaving the house today.
hmm
And I don't have to. We're in a rural area where I now have to go, I can't do grocery delivery because it would be an extra $50 because of where we are.
hmm
So I have to go to town to do groceries. And it's like, it's been really good breaking me of that sort of isolation thing. I don't know that I would have gone and seen Supergirl and Masters of the Universe as many times as I did, if not for being in an area where had to for like 2 years now. Forced myself. I have to go. There's no other way to affordably get groceries delivered to my door. And that $50 is like, that's toys, that's comic books, that's color pencils, like that's, I'm not going to give that for, and it's not, that doesn't even count the tip. That's just the fee to have somebody bring it here. I'm not paying a corporation $50 of my hard-earned money unless I get a comic book or two, something substantial out of it, guys. So. But that's also why us people jumping on the internet and streaming is also important, I think. Because I feel like that, even if you're at home, like you're still having to go out and deal with the world in a much different way than the comment section. Yeah, getting there. Let's see. Oh, really quick. Hello to Payne. Hello, Aaron. Lovely to see you today. I hope you're having a great day and weekend. Yeah, working from home is an adjustment. I prefer it. For me, it actually makes it easier to go do stuff now. In the beginning, it was very easy. Like if you had a long day at work, like, sorry guys, can't make that. But I also leaned into it during lockdown where I was like, I'm just not gonna go do that. Andrew, let's not, but also with the parasite diarrhea Taco Bell thing happening down here.
Right.
It's like people are about. It's like the lettuce isn't even safe, y'all. Said as somebody who keeps eating lettuce. I'm not going back to my old weight, so. I spent too much time and money losing all that weight. I'm not going to diarrhea lettuce or not.
No.
Yeah,
Let's totally not.
Yeah. So anyway,
I was fortunate enough to go to the world premiere of Masters of the Universe. I was stoked.
Oh, nice.
And I needed to be careful because of the event bias to be like, did I really like this movie or did I just like the way I experienced it? Paul G, Hella Geek, was there. He was at the world premiere as well. And it was amazing.
One of my bosses was there, so.
All right. But what do you think about the performance of Masters of the Universe?
I think it's odd. In my opinion, and I'm a huge Motu fan. And I say I'm a huge Motu fan, but I'm also not the biggest fan of Filmation Motu. Again, I'm a little older, so my first experience of Masters of the Universe as a child was my brother got like the first four. He got Skeletor, He-Man, Beastman, and Man-at-Arms. So I thought they were baby toys because I was like the ripe old age of like, I think 8 at the time. It was also the summer that Annie came out, the movie based on the Broadway musical, and I was all about the Hard Knock Life that year. Like Annie, between Star Wars and Annie Dolls and Strawberry Shortcake, it was a great year for me. And I kind of made fun of my brother for his big, clunky, chunky baby toys. And then I found one of the mini comics in the back seat of the car because we lived like an hour from town. So you read a lot of books, a lot of comics in the 80s in a car, especially when your mom is obsessed with U2, who is just now hitting US. My mom was a U2 groupie. She would follow them around. When I was in college, she was the U2 Zootopia tour, I think it was, like, or Zoo World or whatever. Houston, she went to Atlanta. My mother had extreme social anxiety, but went to Atlanta to see you too. Anyway, so I found the mini comic and I saw Tila was in it, and she was bonking Beastman over the head with like her snake spear or whatever. I'm like, okay, who is she? Like, maybe these aren't baby toys. And then I saw her on the back of the card back, and I'm like, okay, they've got this cool woman in this. I'm like, maybe this is for me. Maybe they're not baby toys. So it was because there was a girl. So it's my fault, you guys, that they made Princess of Power later, because I was exactly the girl that was going to the boys. Well, I was already there for Star Wars figures, so let's keep that straight. Like, I was already over in that aisle getting Star Wars, but I prefer the sort of more. I know they refer to it as Savage He-Man, and I'm always like, that kind of feels weird, guys. Let's not do that. I like the more sort of the technology is there, but it's more of like the Lost World sort of thing to it of all, where it's more sword and sorcery, more fantasy based than Filmation. So Filmation to me always felt like dumbed down for kids. Orko, not my favorite character. And that's a long-winded way of saying, so like, despite a lot of Filmation elements in this movie, I still really enjoyed it. And I felt like they did a pretty good job of trying to meld, 1982 mini comics, like pre-Filmation, there was some nice, the 1987 movie, there are a few like callbacks to that with characters and Dolph Lundgren popping up. I felt like they had a pretty intense balancing job to do. So I feel like as far as bringing in all eras of Masters of the Universe, they did a really good job of that.
All right.
And I think that's partly why. I think that's part of why, though, the performance maybe wasn't as big as maybe they would have liked, because they're trying to do the tightrope. So from the outside, for somebody who's not at all motivated, it's going to look like this is not a movie for me because I'm not a super fan. And then for the super fans, there's too much in there that's catering to outsiders. So that's not for me because I'm a super fan. This isn't my first rodeo. So I think that's a big part of it. Like it was trying to be all things to all people. And that turned a lot of people off, but at the same time, like, Mattel has sold a fuck ton of toys.
Right.
It's #1 on streaming. So as far as the marketing of the movie, like, it's worked exactly how they wanted it to. So
yeah, it's totally operating on a different metric, and I think people needed to realize that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was never going to be, there are people like, this is going to be bigger than the Barbie movie. I'm like, there's never going to be bigger than the Barbie movie. Barbie movie also had some advantages when it landed that it wouldn't have if they released the Barbie movie today. Like, the Barbie movie really, really hugely benefited from being one of the first big releases post-lockdown. And it was sold as like, bring all your friends, dress up, make it a celebration. Like, the movies are back. Come have this movie with us.
When I went to go see Barbie, that was the best smelling audience I was ever a part of. Everyone smelled great. Is really weird to like say that, but it's the truth.
No, what I liked when I went and saw the Barbie movie was like in my particular, one, it was the most people I'd been around since before lockdown. But also, like, there was a dad there, and it's like he had his daughter and like 4 of his daughter's friends. And he's just there being a dad, like, so his kid can, and like, these little girls are enjoying the whole movie. They're laughing. They're like, there were groups of older women there, like, clearly they had snuck some booze in, like I used to do in my 20s and 30s. And, but they were all there together as like girlfriends and like just having like girls' day out. And they were either probably coming from brunch or going to go do brunch afterwards. There were couples there. There were a lot of like gay boys and like their best girlfriends. Like it was a fun crowd, and like everyone was there to have a good time and enjoy the movie. There was no like none of these people had been watching like weeks and months worth of like YouTube commentary about why this movie was
Yeah.
going to ruin everything and this isn't your Barbie. And it showed like people went and had a great time and enjoyed that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was just fun. And I think if Motu had hit sort of in that same window of time, like we might have seen a similar, it might have done as big just for the partiness of it all. But I think we're in a different place all these years later. So
Yeah.
but I watched, I don't go to them unless it's Star Wars. Uh, I don't just go to the movie multiple times on principle, right? There's no movie that I love enough, or like there's no company or franchise or whatever that I'm gonna go see 5 or 6 times if I hate the movie, just so that it gets a sequel or whatever. Star Wars I go because it's basically a obsessive compulsive disorder at this point. And that's okay. We all have our rituals. Some people give up food during Lent. I go see Star Wars 7 times. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, as a big super fan who had big expectation, no, who had hope that it was gonna do big. I always thought that this also could be what happened. I was 50-50 on how it was gonna work out. I was disappointed, especially after watching it and seeing how much effort was put into making it a fun movie that would appeal to a lot of people. Like it, and that at the end of the day, maybe that's part of what happened. Like, again, they tried to be all things to all people, and it didn't quite land broadly enough for people. But I also know people who love it, and it was pitch perfect in all the ways for them. So yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes things just don't hit, but it also appears to be doing really well on streaming.
Yeah.
And it's also, like with Supergirl, I'm seeing a lot of people on social media platforms like, why didn't you guys tell me this was good? Now that they're
Is
watching it
Supergirl
on
already on Max? You can rent it. It's not on Max yet, right?
I think it's just renting, but But I'm just saying, as you can rent stuff now, like I've been seeing all these posts for both of those movies, and like people like, no, we tried to tell you it was good. So if they do a sequel, I think it'll do much better at the box office, especially after they wait 2 or 3 years for all the kids who are going to be watching it endlessly for the next 5 to 6 months.
I think Supergirl is going to be a featured player in the new DCU. I don't think she's getting a sequel. I don't think Masters is getting a sequel.
I think, well, Masters might, because the behind the scenes with the Masters was originally it was going to be exclusive to Amazon. It wasn't even going to have a theatrical release.
That's what he did with Voltron.
Yeah, initially the whole goal was Amazon was going to develop it as a movie to premiere and streaming. They are tentatively have been for a while planning a She-Ra series through Amazon. And then there was some talk about doing, this was before like it got to the Travis night of it all. Where the goal was like to have Motu as like say a series of movies that would be Amazon exclusive. There would be like a She-Ra series that would run for a couple of years. So whenever they said, oh well, we're gonna do it theatrically instead, based on what they were seeing during sort of the development of it, I was like, well, that's interesting. So I think there's a chance for a sequel. Will it be as big? Will it have the big budget this one have? Will it have as much of a push as this one had? No. But I think like a direct to streaming sequel is possible. But again, theatrical, it's the way any movie goes theatrical. Oh, let me embiggen you really quick. There we go. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're doing well. Even as a kid with crowns, I couldn't have gotten this many done in this short of a time.
Well, these are very simple illustrations. You're doing a whole like Frank Franzetta type deal with
Yeah,
backgrounds and skies and
yeah,
everything.
that's true. I could have picked something without as much background, but so yeah, I mean, movies are just changing, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. I just think it means movies themselves will change how they look because
Mhm.
unless, like IMAX, of course, like there will always be spectacle, there will always be. But I did sneak an Obsession during my little rush of theater things. And it's interesting how indie horror, well, indie finger quote horror, there's still quite a bit of, sort of big studio money in that movie. But it's interesting that it would be hard to get a movie made that wasn't a franchise if you were doing, like, say, an action movie. But for horror, you can still sort of go, like, it doesn't have to be a sequel. It doesn't have to be a property that people know, which is very 80s. Again, for a while there, it was like every week there was a new horror movie from some independent studio.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm of the age where cable was still new for a lot of families. So whatever was on broadcast TV, that's what you were watching. So you watched Saturday
yeah,
morning, but then you watched the movie of the week. So I was
yeah,
definitely a movie of the week kid. So they would play everything from First Blood, French Connection, right?
yeah,
They play Commando, but they played The Black Hole, Tron. Like when I saw Tron for the first time, blew my mind. Absolutely. Um, Dune, the 80s Dune, all that stuff. Flash Gordon. So this isn't being the HBO kid or anything like that. This is a movie of the week, Saturday. So my Saturdays kept going after Saturday mornings. You had the cartoons, but then you had the real deal. And even with commercials and whatnot, if a film was good, it was good. And then cable came later, VHS, that kind of
yeah,
stuff. I'm at the age where I remember VHS rental still being new. Like before Blockbuster, we went to our grocery store to rent
yeah.
VHS. You know,
Grocery
like
store, every grocery store, every gas station,
yeah,
mom and pops, like department
you went where
stores.
you could.
Yeah. I remember, yeah, I remember when we went and bought our VCR at, I don't remember the name of the store, but they had like the Zenith television, which I don't
Yeah,
think even exists anymore. But they were one of the few licensed outlets for Zenith in the area. So they had a giant like Zenith logo on the front of their store. And we bought the VCR, which was like $600 in like 1983 money, which is huge.
yeah.
It was one of my dad's first really big checks when he started working in the oil fields. And we bought a VCR, and like the first movie my parents let us rent was The Last Unicorn. And then they got The Howling and Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke. Like, those were the first three movies we rented. And we all watched all of the movies because, like a rental was $2 or $3, which is a lot of money in 80s money. My mom, of course, made us leave the room a couple times during The Howling and
Yeah.
but we still got to watch most of them. But and then we rented Beast, and part of this is Beastmaster, right? Like Beastmaster did not do well at the box office back in the 80s. It did really well on rental.
Yeah,
And then it hit huge on
on cable.
HBO.
Yeah.
And like there's this joke you still hear about now to this day. Like HBO used to stand for, hey, is Beastman on? Beastman's on. Beastmaster is on.
Yeah.
And Beastmaster got a sequel in like 92 or 93 with
Yeah. Hmm.
box office poison Carrie Werrer. Um, you wanted your movie to go direct to VHS or DVD when that was applicable. You hired Carrie Werrer. Um, but um, but it did eventually get a sequel based on that, and there was even a part 3 that was direct to video. So I think direct to streaming is sort of the same. So I think we'll get another most Masters of the Universe movie or a TV show or something, because the impact has been much bigger than the box office, and
Mm.
there's no way they're not paying attention to the fact that it's been the #1 streaming thing on Amazon in the US at least for
Hmm.
weeks now. So I mean, somebody was like, well, they could be manipulating that. They are Amazon. It's like Amazon has no. If they put it on that opening page and it's something, that means it's usually true, because if it's not true, people aren't going to click on it anyway. Like
Right.
Amazon is all about those clicks. So they are going to chase every click they can get. And if it's not, people aren't clicking on it, they're not going to say it's #1. So that's my 2 cents for the haters. But I don't know. What did you just? I don't want to say dislike, because that's the negative. What were the sort of things that about the Motu movie you would have liked to be better?
I think that they catered too much to um the audience that was there for Filmation, that was there for the 80s. And I think they needed to expanded it to a new audience. Although it's getting a new audience now, for
Mhm.
theatrical, you kind of have to play a different metric. If you're going to make something for a new audience, and sure, you're going to get, like as you said, the haters, people who are like, "Well, they should have done this, they should have done." Like that's just comes with adapting um a property as old as Masters of the Universe. GI Joe is going to go through the same thing. Transformers, they were able to really dodge that because of the special effects, the transformation effects, even in 2007, 2009, were top tier for it. And so
Yeah.
that gave them a license to do new different things. Now, and Michael Bay basically just used that just as a catch-all action series that just so happened to feature those Transformers. You can't do
Right.
that with Motu. You can't really do that with GI Joe. The thing is the thing. So with Masters, they made it very tried and true what it was. But it's like you're really limiting the audience for this, at least theatrically, because it's one thing to sit down, watch something on streaming. You can have a drink, you can make your own snacks. You don't have to worry about paying parking, looking for um, show times or anything like that. The convenience allows you to take risks. So
Yeah.
that's why I think more people are watching Masters on streaming because of the convenience of it. You don't have to bet on having a good time, and that bet costing you anywhere from $20 to $50, depending on where you
Right.
live and everything that goes with it. Um, I think streaming not only has changed things in some cases for the better, but also for the worst, because you're not really making things where people can sit down and just really focus on the storytelling. It's almost all background. They tell filmmakers for Netflix, for example, essentially to design their experience for the background.
Yeah.
So you have characters saying things out loud they never would for a theatrical release.
Right.
It's like, I gotta defuse this bomb. There's 40 seconds left. Hand me those green pliers. That kind
Yeah.
of thing. So with
Yeah. So
Masters, I thought it was breathtaking that they're like, screw it. This is for Gen X. This is for the millennials. I made this for me. Travis Knight's like, this is for me. I'm just like, okay, you know, like, and the people who loved it, I know why they loved it. They loved it for the same reason I did. But at the same
yeah.
time, I was worried because I thought that the reception was just going to be too small. And I was right.
Yeah. But also, yeah, like people were complaining about the Earth stuff at the beginning, and I get that, like because the '87 movie was completely set on Earth, but this was different, and like somebody in a chat was complaining about this that I was in the other day, and I'm like, what? Yeah, but that's not for you. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, like we're existing Masters of the Universe fans. They could have cut all of that and just had like Adam sort of in a village on Eternia somewhere hidden, and then like Tila help wake him up or whatever. You reduce that entire opening part on Earth to like even shorter and leave it on Eternia. But in a year or two, when like some 6 or 7 year old finds Masters of the Universe on streaming and it starts out with Adam on Earth, that gives them a way into the story. Like one thing, for better or for worse, that and I don't. This is not something that matters to me the same way, but it's like for modern audiences, if they can't relate to the character like on a really specific level, like they don't do the investment in the character. They're not going to watch it if they can't see themselves in Adam. And so Adam starting on Earth gives your average 7-year-old something they can latch onto as far as Adam that maybe they couldn't if the whole thing were set on Eternia. And again, better or for worse. Like, it's really hard reading books right now because everything is written in a way where it's got to be relatable. And, like, so often characters are not unlikable or they're not morally gray. They're very black and white, good and evil. And I've read some really boring ass books lately that are newer. Not gonna lie. But I think again for a kids, essentially a movie made for children, and the adults who are still kids at heart, I think Masters of the Universe decisions like that will pay off for it in the years to come when it lives on streaming. And it creates an environment where there's a whole new generation of kids who now know who He-Man is. Unlike sort of all the 90s kids who like maybe would find Motu stuff like at a garage sale and wonder about it, but once he was gone,
Or be a meme. Like a lot of these guys, the first thing they saw was the "What's Going On" meme, and they didn't
Yeah.
even know what. It was just this crazy cartoon that this meme had picked up on.
Which is why they use that so much in the marketing and even use that song in that one moment. And like I'm not gonna lie, when I was going into it, I'm like, if they use that song in the movie, I'm gonna be so mad. And then the way they used it in the movie, I'm like, okay, you guys, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna trust Travis.
Yeah, it was all good fun. Yeah.
Well, it was also the perfect place to drop any song, but it's like that song also, like there's the meta-ness of it, but it was just a perfect song to use for that scene. Like, and there was a lot of love and care put into that movie. It wasn't your typical like. It's clear that Travis McKnight. I keep wanting to call him. It's Knight or is it McKnight?
It's Knight. It's Travis Knight. Yeah.
Who I'm mixing him up with Brian McKnight.
With Brian McKnight. Yeah.
Those are two completely different people, Alice. Anyway, that's how you know you're old. I feel like what's her name from the Cheryl Lee Ralph on that the show where she works at
the elementary. Yeah.
Yeah, she mixes up. Anyway, sorry. Where she's like, she's like she thinks certain white people are actually black people, and she keeps she thinks Carrie Underwood is Kerry Washington and whatnot, so she'll refer
exactly.
Anyway, sorry, that's probably over most people's head, but that's how I just felt like I'm like I keep doing it with the McKnight versus Knight. But yeah, it was a fun movie though. It's been a long time since I felt like a movie was just like, let's have fun with this. Like too often and one of the reasons I wasn't in a rush to go see Spider-Man is just like the last couple of Marvel movies I've gone to have felt exhausting. Like if you haven't watched all 3 seasons of this show
Yeah.
and you didn't watch this movie, then you're not going to know actually what's going on. And I don't have time to watch. I will say I liked Madam Web as a terrible movie.
Mhm.
That movie was fun if you go into it expecting just the worst movie you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really get bad movies like that anymore. And it was
Yeah.
nice to
Yeah.
get. So,
It's a thrill to see the movies that the studio process is designed to prevent from getting made. So something like Cats, I
yeah.
dug the horror movie train wreck that it was, because it's
That
like
was,
you guys were
it
not
was
supposed to make
so,
this. Yeah.
it was so bad. It was well, and same with Madam Web. And this is far more likely with it being sort of Sony and Spider-Man related. Is,
Hmm.
like Madam Web was clear, like, we have to make Spider-Man movies. We have to do them so every so often to retain the license. And the movie, Madam Web very much feels like we've licensed it, we've paid for it, we have to pay anyway. Let's make a movie, and it bombs, and we'll get the tax write-off. But it was just so bad in such a fun way. Like, it was like I was the only person, obviously, in the theater that was watching that, but I just cackled. Like, it was so ridiculous and so bad that I just had the best time watching this terrible, awful movie. And there's the lost art, I think, of a bad movie.
Yeah. I always say that there's different categories. There's so bad it's good, so bad it's rad, and so bad it's sad, right?
Yeah,
So Megaforce is like so bad it's rad.
yeah.
Um, I would say something in a movie like Sucker Punch. I did not like Sucker Punch, and I would
I
say
did
so
not.
bad it's sad. Rebel Moon is another one of those.
Yeah, Sucker Punch made. I went to the theater with. I had at the time was working in an office, and I had a friend, and we had every other Friday off, and it always fell on payday. So we would go get our checks. We'd meet at the office, and we would go get drunk, and then go see a movie.
All right.
So we just saw every 2 weeks we went to a movie, and we saw some good stuff and we saw some bad stuff. We went and saw Black Swan, which
Mhm.
there needs to be more movies with crazy ballerinas. I'm just saying, this is a genre that is underserved. We went and saw the first Captain America movie.
Mhm.
And she had never seen a superhero movie before. So I got to like take her to see Captain America with no idea if it would be good or not.
Yeah.
And we went and saw Sucker Punch, and we were the only, and it was opening day, we were the only ones in the theater for it, which should have been. And then right in
Wow.
front of us, there was a man and his wife and their 5-year-old daughter. And it's the only time I've ever wanted to be a Karen. So I'm like, your daughter should not be in here for Sucker
Yeah.
Punch. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, not to be that, but it was just like, I was pretty, so. But that movie just pissed me off.
Hmm.
Especially because there are some great action sequences in that movie. Some of them like are really fun and
Some cool
visceral. And
ideas. Yeah. Hmm.
there was a good movie around those like dream sequences. That movie could have been fire, and sadly, it just was not.
No, it was a waste.
Yeah, like if he had taken some of those dream sequences and just made them music videos, like they would have been amazing.
Yeah, that's probably what that movie was. There's probably all these ideas he had for music videos, and so, well, let me just
Yeah,
put it in a movie.
and don't ever do that again, Mr. Schneider. Yeah, I went on a
They
date
won't.
one time, and the guy was like, I love Sucker Punch. It was so good. So after dinner, I went to the bathroom and left and didn't tell him. So he was paying anyway, so it was fine. And hello, Sight Beyond Sight. Lovely to see
Greetings,
you.
greetings.
And since you are a channel member, we know what that means. What does that mean, KG?
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
She's in denial.
She is in denial. Yeah. Da da da. Oh. Okay, so I watched Rebel Moon because I refuse to hate on something I have not watched. And I was ready to be I went into it like this is gonna be terrible, but maybe it won't be.
Mhm.
But it was on Netflix. I didn't pay extra for it, so we're
There
fine.
you go. Yeah.
But it just felt lazy in the worst way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was pissed off yeah, no. I will agree with you on this one, but I was pissed off for a different reason other than the movie. So me and the guy I was seeing at the time had just gotten into a big argument before we went and saw that. So it could have been great and I still would have hated that movie. Although I will say still to this day it weirds me out that the model for the main actress looks like Bridget Fonda, but was not Bridget Fonda.
Mm.
So anyway. Exactly. Kal-El. No.
Mm.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy Spirits Within, that could be an entire stream of us just being like, what
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the actual F was that? Maybe we'll do that for a retro cavalcade, Andrew, and we'll have KJ. I keep trying to mix up the two names. I'll get it eventually. We'll have you on for that. We'll just spend the whole time making fun of the Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Well, I will say this, that it was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But now the story is not interesting enough without the caveat of digital humans to even
Yeah.
bother making, because the whole point was seeing at the time, 2000, 2001, can they pull this off? Like they had just done. No, I think Animatrix was after Spirits Within, because they had
Yeah.
that one sequence that was in the Animatrix that Square had
Yeah.
done. But I wouldn't. The story just isn't interesting enough for the movie to for them to redo it. There's a reason they haven't even bothered to redo Spirits Within or be like, oh, the beloved classic now reanimated. They
Right.
didn't have the love for that.
I mean,
So
the
thank you for the
problem
invite. I probably won't be there for that.
is, well, I don't even. That's the thing, though. I don't even remember what the story was. Like, I just remember, like, wow, this is cool. But the story didn't even like make sense. Like,
No, it's
I
just
don't
that
even.
that basically there were spirits that were alive, but they were like claiming people's lives, and there was a space gun that was going to kill Gaia, the spirit of Earth,
Yeah.
um, that kind of thing.
I, yeah. Like, there was no story. Like, uh, the early 2000s. And I say that, and there's somebody out there who's like, that's their favorite movie. Probably my ex.
I want to meet that person. I want to meet that person whose favorite movie is Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Right? Yeah. At some point, every movie is somebody's favorite movie, no matter how
Hmm.
preposterous that seems. And one
Well,
day
with
we'll
these,
find out.
yeah.
Well, and I think that the difference between Animatrix and that is one, um, the Animatrix was good. But also like there was the actual story for the Animatrix. So even though the sequence that they used that animation with wasn't necessarily plot heavy, like you didn't need it to, like understand the Matrix movies. I feel like it was feeding into an existing like storyline and like was fleshing it out. So like it
Hmm.
completely different than like here's this random story we're just making up and it has nothing to do with the video games that all these people love. Enjoy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Final Fantasy girly. I've never played any of them. I have no idea what
Hmm.
any of them are. But I knew even watching the movie that wasn't game accurate in any way. So
Yeah.
which non-fan knows that this ain't right.
It's tricky using IP branding for things that are just completely different, and if you're not careful, it can definitely backfire. Um, with I keep going back to what was the cheapest way to make a movie. So my
Right.
joke for a long time, I would joke with friends of mine, like if they ever did a Thundercats movie, if Canon Films did a Thundercats movie in the '80s, you would have basically the first 5-10 minutes be like Lion-O, Panthro, and everyone else in full prosthetics and costumes, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some, Mum Ra has a magic portal that transports them to Earth, and somehow they magically take human form. They're in human clothes. So for the bulk of the film, for like 90 to 100 minutes of the film, it's the Thundercats in human form trying
Yep.
to go on this adventure in 1980s Earth to get back to Third Earth and get back to their Thundercats form. And that's how they
Yep.
would have made the movie.
Oh, exactly. Like that. I can see it now, actually. And there would be some joke about and there would be like a pretty blonde woman, who would
Yeah.
take them in, and there would be some joke that they would stick in the trailer of
It
them
would be the same
yeah,
blonde woman from Star Trek for the Voyage Home.
yeah, and she would pour them a bowl of cereal, and then they would lick the milk out of it like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And she'd be like, "Wow, you guys must not be from around here." Teehee. And then they would just rip off the entire script from Earth Girls Are Easy for the Earth sequences.
So like when you're doing something, it can't just be about the IP. Oh, we got to make a Thundercats movie. You really do
Yeah,
have to have something to say. And I think in the scheme of things, that's really new because people would just
yeah,
use IP, exploit fandom, exploit nostalgia because they would just make the movie. You got to really have something to say about it and and say why it has to be Masters of the Universe, why it has to be Spider-Man,
right.
you know? Like I enjoyed Mando and Grogu and it was cool to seeing like what they did with Grogu growing up and having to essentially save Mando on his own.
Yeah,
But because of frankly how good a lot of the episodes are on Disney Plus for too many people, there just wasn't enough um, difference between what the show was and what the film was.
yeah.
It's just what it is.
Well, and also, and one thing that did occur to me on either the third or the fourth viewing was it didn't like the Mando season one especially. There are parts where it's like, wow, this really looks like Star Wars on
Yeah.
TV, but it doesn't look like Star Wars in a theater. And there were points watching Grogu and Mando where it sort of felt like it fluctuated between the two aesthetics, where there
Hmm.
were parts where it's like, this is Disney streaming Mando. Okay, now we're cinematic Star Wars. Like it felt, and again, this didn't pop out to me till third or fourth viewing. So it's not that noticeable, but upon repeat viewings, I was like, wait, like some of this seems more, like streaming than it seems theatrical. And I think that's goes back to the question you asked way back when. I think if Disney is serious about sort of building characters up on TV, on streaming, and then bringing them theatrically, they have to make sure that 100% of that movie is a theatrical experience from start to finish. And there's
Hmm.
no part of it that either looks like or feels like it could have been 30, 40 minutes on a streaming show. And I think that's one of the places where Grogu and the Mandalorian and where it felt a little tonally off for me. There were parts that I could have easily been an episode of the Mando.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what they need to sort of step back and say, because for a long time, theatrical, of course, was the Skywalker saga. And since they decided that that's over, they're going to have to figure out what the big cinematicness is. Because while Rogue One and Solo were fun, single standalone movies don't feel as Star Wars at a theater as, and I think Rogue One really benefits for being like a prequel to A New Hope, and being sort of an extension of, it's basically the opening crawl brought to life. So like it benefits from that. But in general, it's like if they're going to do movies, it needs to feel theatrical. It needs to feel like this could only happen as a movie. And this is a story big enough for a theatrical screen and important enough to get my ass off of the couch and off of the device to go and watch it. So that's my challenge, Disney, for future Star Wars.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, I was able to finish this one as well.
Excellent. Very nice. We are almost to the end.
All right.
Very nice. Really quick.
I'm being outdone here. This is great.
That's my job. And in like 3 years, when there's a whole episode, you'll be like, "That's that page we did that one day when I hung out." Let's see, really quick. Yeah, Sarah. I don't know. It's been more okay. So really quick, let's address this, Andrew. I don't know that it's that you're actually spam. I think they're doing that because of your name. I think it's targeted harassment. Because from day one of me having this channel for, it's a little over 3 years now, anytime you comment, I have to go and I have to go and find I have to filter to new. And that's why I so often pin your comments, because that's the only way your comments will show for everyone. Also, you have good comments, so it's like, it's not like I need to pin this so people can see that Andrew is alive. But I think YouTube is just being
YouTube's been acting weird. A lot of film essayists and music critics, they can't put anything up. Everything's being flagged. If I didn't know any better, I think they're trying to stifle speech centered around pop culture.
Yeah,
but what do I know?
It's interesting what they filter through. Well, the problem is that so many of their filters are AI now, so who even knows who programmed it for them?
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is. We continue to scream even if it's into a void, because eventually sound travels and somebody will hear. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Galliano. Yeah, I agree, James. And I'm just not necessarily going to say it because we don't want to get kicked off all of a sudden, because YouTube has done that before to people. But, like I've got, but also we just, sometimes you have to fight within a system. And even when it's something as minor as somebody having an opinion on how good a coloring page looks, you still fight that system because everything counts. Anyway. It's been extra social justice today, y'all. No, just kidding. It's always like this. It's always like this here. That's why you will never find certain people in my stream. We just
same.
Yeah, like there are people who will never show up here. And that's okay. We don't need those kind of people showing up here.
I've had to kick people off of my solo stream when I was doing my solo channel. I had to kick people off of my Instagram. Some people just don't know how to conduct themselves. And it's not my job to, raise grown adults.
Well, like this is sort of internet specific. There are a lot of people who think just because they can say it and they have freedom of speech that they are allowed, and it's like, no. Like YouTube, and despite some of their flaws, one thing I do like is they have the option to hide comments and hide users from your channel. So if somebody comes along with some bullshit, it is very easy to not delete the comment. You hide the comment. So that way when they come back, they still see their comment. Nobody else sees it. You don't see it. And then if you hide them from the channel, they can say whatever the hell they want. And unless they do screenshots and share them publicly, nobody else will ever see what they're saying.
All right. Yeah.
And that's, in my opinion, the most effective way to handle shitty people. Let them scream into nowhere because they at least feel like they've accomplished something.
Right.
Yeah, and then they don't do the thing where they like hunt you down on other platforms and get extra ridiculous. So, but yeah, it's just, we all navigate the internet in certain ways. Oh, hello, Riley. I'm sorry if I missed you earlier. Oh, it doesn't look like I did. So. We are getting ready to wrap up, actually, but lovely to see you even at the end. I hope you are having a good weekend. Oh, wait. Lunch, dinner sounds so good. Oh, hello, Angela. Welcome. Why, thank
you work up an appetite doing this stuff.
True, you, Angela, one of my favorite people. Often on Fridays when I'm filming stuff, I listen to her stream and watch her coloring. So thank you. And
Thanks, True.
So it's the fun thing. Again, I'm in this weird intersection between coloring YouTube and ToyTube. So I get all kinds of cool people that just hang out and watch and listen and whatnot. So
yeah.
And then I get to go hang out in all of their streams. So, but yeah. Now, the internet lets just some people think they can do whatever. And YouTube gives us great tools, in some cases, to deal with that. So, we love that for them. I don't know that I'm going to finish Bravestarr today, guys. Because we should probably start wrapping it up. I don't want to keep KJ all day.
Hey, this has been fun. This is relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the nice thing about it. Like, it's, like I don't have anyone on. Like, there are a couple of people eventually that I will invite who have better skills than I do. But I also know, like, the goal has always been like, I had somebody one time who I invited them. They're like, oh no, I'm terrible. I'm like, you don't need to be anything but there. Like, I'll bring the coloring, you just show up and we'll talk. Like, the whole point is,
but
like,
now I have all these great illustrations. Like, it's...
Dude, I'm going to put you up center so that you can properly share with everyone.
This is fun. These are going to be like little keepsakes. And I'd be like, yo, check this out. Look what I did on Allison Troy's channel. Like that kind of stuff. It's fun.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me leave you up really quick because we are going to start wrapping up. Where can the people find you, KJ?
You can find me nowadays on meta platforms. Shout out to Zuckerberg. So that means on Instagram.com/Black Genghis and Facebook.com/Black Genghis. I tend to post between those two platforms, one or the other. YouTube, I have my own solo channel, Black Genghis, but I'm really taking a break from streaming on YouTube right now. So right now, the best place is Instagram and Facebook.
Well, just in case, when you do start on YouTube again, there is a link in the chat for everyone to go subscribe. So when you're ready, you'll have a few more subscribers.
Thank you.
I will. I can't easily get the Instagram link into chat right at this moment, but I will everyone who is on Instagram, I will post a picture of this page and then tag you in it. So everyone who doesn't follow you on Instagram and you can't easily find you, just go look for this, and there'll be a
Cool.
tag for you to follow back and give KJ a follow. So
I'm pretty sure this is bringing back like memories from like kindergarten and daycare. Like I can't think of the last time I did any coloring whatsoever.
well, that's kind of what's fun about it, because like that is what a lot of us, especially in the 80s, a lot of us, like if we had a long car trip and you had a station wagon, like your parents would give you a coloring book and some crayons and throw you in the back, or rainy days. That's often, I know, like in
Yeah.
elementary school, we had to have a coloring book in our desk. Mine was Battle of the Planets, which I
Gotcha,
have
man.
that one. Yeah, I bought it recently, and I've been doing pages for the channel, and that's really weird, like sitting there remembering rainy days in second grade coloring G-Force, because that's what they were for us in these states originally, was G-Force.
Yeah.
And thank you, Angela. That's muchly appreciated. And you will be back one day.
Thank you
He
very
will be
much.
back on YouTube. When you're ready. Like, YouTube takes a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
work, so no rush to anyone. All right. Really quick, I should also say where people, obviously if they're watching this, they can find me, but what do we have coming up for the people? This is going to be a fun week, I think. Oh yeah, this is a good week. I film a lot of stuff way in advance, so there's stuff that I filmed 2-3 months ago that we'll just release this week. Tomorrow, there is a flip through of the 2023 Dune coloring book, and I color a page from it. What's fun about it though is it's based on the novels. It's not based on either Lynch or the recent movie, so it's from
Its own vibe, yeah.
from Frank Herbert's actual, from the books themselves, for those descriptions. Really cool book. I've got some Star Wars shorts, Chewbacca and a 2-1B, $6 Million Man versus Maskatron.
Interesting, yeah.
Because I've got the Kenner 1975 Dipdoc design book that I've scanned, cleaned up. That's a series happening now. And then on Friday from 1977, The Purchase of the Droids. And then for the paper doll girlies and boys, Saturday Star Wars prequels. I have both of the Amidala paper doll books. We're going to do a flip through so you can see what those look like. And then next Sunday, I'll be here live streaming with Tony of Tony's Figs. So
Yeah, that's my bro. That's my
we're going to color
bro.
some DC. Oh, you thought it was Bravestarr. So, yeah, so we'll be doing some DC next week, which this week was kind of a precursor because we did a bunch of that. Yeah, no, nobody likes AI slop. So,
No,
I
don't like AI flyers.
Oh, those are bad too. No, my favorite AI music, AI art, AI flyers, it's all pretty bad.
Yeah.
And when somebody's like, but I don't have time, it's like, you should see the slop I make on Photoshop that looks way better than your slop. So.
Yep.
And on that.
This is all about intent. It's about being intentional.
It is. It may take 5 to 10 minutes. It may not, finger quote, look as put together, but it looks better. So. Alrighty, we are going to leave you today at this point with the question that we've all been asking since 1984. Take it away, Phoebe.
I haven't made up my mind yet. Incidentally, which one of you bitches is my mother?